Nilay Patel is the editor-in-chief of The Verge, a CNBC contributor. They have been ahead in large part on this story throughout the weekend. I just ask you, state of play. Where do you think we really are right now? What do you think is going to happen?
I think Sam Altman is a very mission-driven individual. He wants to build this technology. He wants to advance the state of the art in AI and for humanity. And he's working hard to go back to OpenAI. That is what I understand today. That Bloomberg just matched our reporting late last night, saying that the board continues to negotiate with Altman and his camp. The board has to step down. That is a condition that Sam has put on this. So out of the 4 people who voted to remove Sam on Friday, 1 has flipped. Ilya Sutskever, the chief scientist, has flipped in the Sam's camp. The 85-90% of OpenAI employees have signed a letter saying they will quit and go to Microsoft if Sam doesn't come back. There's 3 people in between that outcome and Sam returning to OpenAI. And so we'll just see what happens today. But negotiations are furious today. Satya Nadella was on CNBC last night. He did not answer affirmatively when John Ford asked him directly if Sam Altman was coming to Microsoft, because it is still very much an open question.
Let me ask you this, though. One of the things we haven't really gotten underneath this story about is clearly there have been concerns among some board members about how fast this technology is developing and what kind of controls are in place. That's what led to this. Now, maybe those board members were misguided. I don't think we know yet. Maybe you have a better sense of it. But clearly at this point, somebody's come to the realization that either the technology is moving too fast and you weigh that against the company not existing and you decide you want the company to exist rather than it moving too fast. But what do you think was actually happening on the other side?
Yeah, I think that idea that the technology was moving too fast and gave the board pause, and that is why they had to immediately fire Sam on Friday with no notice to anyone, including Microsoft. I think that as time has gone by, that has proven to not be true, right? The various members of the board, like Ilya, have said that's not true. Emmett Shear has said, he's the interim CEO. He has said to the staff, that's not true. There's no malfeasance here. There's no security concern. He has said, I wouldn't have joined the company even for the 48 hours he's been there if they weren't going to commercialize the models. The board has not provided any documentation of their reasoning to anyone, to Microsoft, to the other investors, to Emmett Shear, to Sam Altman. No one really knows why they made this decision. And I think fundamentally, if they think they are tasked with saving humanity from AGI, they are better served having a company at the forefront of that development than stopping whatever ChatGPT can do today as a commercial product that you can buy for $20 a month. Now, there are some stories.
Yep.
There are some stories that at the Dev Day, what Sam Altman demoed, showing other people being able to build ChatGPT-like products called GPTs, sell them to consumers, get a rev share. All that stuff was too far down the path of commercialization, and potentially developers could have done dangerous things without content controls, without moderation controls. But if you're the board of directors, your job is to mediate that conversation, right? To bring Sam in and say, look, we're going a little too far, too fast. We need to sit down and talk about, is this appropriate? Not to fire him because you don't think you can trust him.
And let me ask you, and just for the audience, AGI is artificial general intelligence, which is sort of, that's when you get to like sentient, that's the concept at least. Here's my question for you. The other piece of this is not just what happens with Microsoft, but there's all of these venture capital investors who put money into the for-profit arm of the not-for-profit. And there's a big question, including Thrive and Andreessen Horowitz and so many others. What is the fiduciary responsibility, if there is any, from the not-for-profit board to the investors in the for-profit entity?
Yeah, I've been trying to suss that out all weekend. What is the leverage that will get this board to move, right? The unbelievable assumption from everyone, including me, is that the board is acting in some level of bad faith, right? Just because they will not explain themselves. They have not spoken publicly. It does not appear they're leaking anywhere. They have not released any of this documentation. So if you've taken this rash decision and you won't explain yourself, there's some assumption of bad faith. And you would think the investors could break through that and at least gain some understanding of what happened, if not leverage over the situation. Up until now, they have none. No one's been able to do anything. I think fundamentally, this Microsoft announcement that Sam and Greg would join Microsoft was an attempt to create some leverage by saying, look, we're going to take your two principals and they're going to bring the entire company and you're going to be left being the nonprofit board of nothing. And that is one outcome that you are headed towards, or you can come back to the table and negotiate. I do think that worked. I think it's a little risky for Microsoft to have announced that Sam and Greg are joining the company when Sam and Greg are so actively engaged in negotiations to return to OpenAI, but it did work to gain a little bit of leverage. Right. It is unclear if the straightforward legal leverage of fiduciary duty has accomplished anything.